When the world's most formidable navy begins to maneuver discreetly and a former U.S. president raises his voice about the possibility of war, it is never a coincidence. Such moments serve as unmistakable signals that something critical is unfolding behind the scenes. Historically, when aircraft carriers head toward the Middle East, it typically signals a serious development. Despite public denials or silence, multiple reliable sources, including Democracy Now!, Reuters, and the Associated Press, have confirmed that the Pentagon recently ordered a U.S. aircraft carrier strike group to reposition closer to the Middle East amid escalating tensions with Iran. This military movement coincided with former President Donald Trump's vocal warnings of potential military action against Iran, reigniting fears of a broader regional conflict that many hoped had been averted. An aircraft carrier strike group is far from a routine naval presence. It represents a floating military city equipped with fighter jets, missile defense systems, submarines, and thousands of military personnel. CNN has consistently emphasized that sending such a force into a volatile region is a clear message of deterrence and sometimes a direct warning. It signals to allies that the U.S. is ready to provide protection, while simultaneously warning adversaries that military force is prepared if diplomatic efforts fail. The Pentagon has described the deployment as a defensive move aimed at safeguarding U.S. forces and regional partners. However, analysts interviewed by the New York Times have pointed out that these deployments seldom remain symbolic. They significantly boost U.S. firepower and drastically reduce response times should a crisis escalate into open conflict. In essence, the arrival of an aircraft carrier in the region rapidly expands the range of military options available. This development took on added significance because of Donald Trump's statements. During ongoing campaign events and media interviews, Trump accused Iran of emboldening itself too much and suggested that decisive military action might be necessary. Although Trump no longer holds command over U.S. military decisions, his words carry considerable influence. Politico reports that foreign governments closely monitor U.S. political rhetoric, especially when it comes from prominent figures who could potentially return to power. Trump's remarks, therefore, are viewed not just as political commentary, but as signals that could shape international responses. Iran responded with a mixture of caution and defiance. State-linked media outlets warned that any U.S. attack would trigger retaliation. Iranian officials, as reported by Al Jazeera and Reuters, highlighted that U.S. military bases and naval assets in the region fall within the range of Iranian missiles. Such statements are intended to deter further escalation, yet they also serve to heighten tensions. The broader Middle East remains on edge, with U.S. forces deployed across Iraq, Syria, the Gulf states, and the Red Sea. Armed groups aligned with Iran have demonstrated their capability to strike U.S. positions using rockets and drones. According to an analysis by the BBC, even a limited military confrontation could quickly spiral out of control, resulting in attacks across multiple countries. Energy markets add another layer of complexity to the situation. The Middle East continues to be a critical hub for global oil supplies, and U.S. naval movements near strategic shipping lanes inevitably attract attention. Both Bloomberg and Reuters have warned that rising military tensions with Iran can trigger spikes in oil prices even before any hostilities begin. Financial markets tend to react faster to the fear of conflict than governments do to the evolving situation on the ground. This economic dimension underscores how deeply interconnected the geopolitical and financial worlds are when it comes to Middle Eastern stability. Within Washington, the deployment has exposed sharp divisions among lawmakers and officials. Some argue that demonstrating military strength is the only viable way to deter Iran from making aggressive moves. Others caution that increasing military presence without engaging in diplomatic dialogue raises the risk of dangerous miscalculations. As reported by the Washington Post, several former U.S. officials fear that a single incident at sea or a misinterpreted signal could inadvertently spark a crisis that no one intended. This internal debate reflects the complexity of balancing deterrence with diplomacy in a highly volatile environment. Meanwhile, U.S. allies are observing the situation with deep concern. European leaders already grappling with the ongoing war in Ukraine and other global instabilities have called for restraint. Statements quoted by The Guardian reveal their worry that another conflict in the Middle East would not only stretch international resources thin, but also exacerbate humanitarian crises in a region already devastated by decades of war. The global community's apprehension highlights the far-reaching implications of increased military tensions in the Middle East. At the heart of this unfolding drama is Donald Trump, whose outspoken rhetoric continues to shape perceptions and reactions worldwide. His warnings about Iran have reintroduced fears of conflict into public discourse and have influenced how various governments and military strategists assess the situation. Even without direct control over military decisions, Trump's voice remains a powerful force in American politics and international relations. His influence ensures that any developments in the Middle East will be scrutinized through the lens of his statements and potential future leadership.